At family dinner, Mom said, "Give the house to your sister or go to jail." I just laughed. "Hi, I'm Megan. That's all you need to know about me for now, the one who built everything from scratch while everyone else took the easy road. But let's cut to the chase." It all exploded at that family dinner, the kind where tension simmers under forced smiles and clinking forks. Mom leaned in, her voice a low snarl. "Give the house to your sister, or you'll end up in jail." My sister sneered right after her words, dripping with venom. "You're just useless anyway." The lawyer I'd brought smart move on my part, and I exchanged a quick glance. I couldn't hold it back. Laughter burst out of me, echoing across the table like a slap. Their smug grins faded as I leaned forward and said, "The useless one isn't me, it's..." Growing up, the favoritism was blatant. My sister got the designer clothes, the private lessons, the dream vacations to places like Paris. Me, I was flipping burgers at 16 in a dingy diner, learning early that hard work was my only ticket out. Mom and Dad preached independence to me while handing her everything on a silver platter. I pushed through college on scholarships and side gigs, sharing cramped apartments with unreliable roommates, skipping parties to stash every penny. No safety net, no handouts, just me grinding. After graduation, I poured my savings into a small coffee shop. Those first years were brutal: early mornings, pulling espresso shots, late nights, scrubbing counters, weekends lost to inventory. But by year 5, it was thriving enough for me to eye a condo of my own. Of course, my family caught wind. They'd hint about my sister's struggles with rent, how she needed stability. The subtext was clear: I was supposed to hand over my hard-earned future to fix her messes. Little did they know that dinner would flip the script, and I'd finally break free in ways they never saw coming. If you've dealt with toxic family favoritism that pushes you to the edge, hit that like button, subscribe for more raw stories like this, and ring the bell to never miss an update. Drop your own family drama in the comments. I read them all. The patterns set in early in our Chicago suburb home, where the split-level house felt more like a divided kingdom. Brittany always got the spotlight: new outfits from Gap or Abercrombie, every season extra math tutors to boost her grades, and those summer camps in the Rockies that cost a fortune. I remember her unpacking souvenirs from a trip to Italy at age 14, bragging about gelato in Florence, while I scrubbed dishes after school. Mom would beam at her, saying how talented she was, destined for big things. Dad nodded along, pulling out his wallet for her latest request without question. Me, they told me to build character, that real success came from earning it yourself. So at 16, I landed my first job at a local fast food joint, not the trendy one downtown, but the greasy spot off the highway where shifts ran until midnight. I'd come home smelling like fries, my hands raw from the fryer, only to hear Brittany complain about her exhausting dance classes. They never asked how I was holding up, just reminded me to contribute to household bills if I wanted extras, like gas money for my beat-up Honda. College hit harder than I expected. I scraped together applications for state schools, piecing together partial scholarships from community funds and academic awards I'd chased on my own. Brittany got the full ride to a private university in Boston, courtesy of family savings they claimed were for the one with potential. While she partied at frat houses and posted about weekend getaways to Cape Cod, I commuted to community college first, then transferred to a public uni in Illinois. Living arrangements were a nightmare. First a dorm where I shared a tiny room with 3 others, then off-campus apartments that smelled like mold and had landlords who hiked rent every 6 months. One place had a leaky roof that ruined my textbooks during a storm, but I couldn't afford replacements right away. Roommates came and went, some forgetting their share of utilities, leaving me to cover electric bills or face shutoffs. I juggled 2 jobs: mornings at a campus bookstore stocking shelves, evenings waitressing at a diner where tips barely covered groceries. No spring breaks in Florida for me. Instead, I'd pick up extra shifts watching my bank account inch up slowly. Friends invited me to bars or concerts, but I turned them down, calculating every dollar a night out meant less in my emergency fund. That fund became my obsession, started with my first paycheck and grown through sheer willpower. I tracked it in a notebook, adding $10 here, 20 there, knowing if I slipped, no one would bail me out. The divide grew obvious in little ways that stung. Holidays meant gifts for Brittany jewelry or gadgets, while I got practical stuff like socks or a planner. Family dinners turned into sessions where they'd praise her latest achievement, like landing an internship through Dad's connections, and gloss over my straight A's earned without help. Once I mentioned struggling with tuition payments, and Mom waved it off. "You're tough, you'll figure it out. Brittany needs focus on her studies without worries." It translated to me handling everything solo, from car repairs to health insurance deductibles. Dad even suggested I loan her money for a new laptop when hers broke during a shopping spree mishap. I refused that time, feeling a spark of resentment, but swallowed it to keep peace. Living frugally became second nature: thrift store clothes, ramen dinners, biking to work to save on gas. My savings account hit a milestone after 2 years, $5,000, but it felt fragile, like one bad month could wipe it out. Brittany, meanwhile, racked up charges on a family credit card for brunches and spa days, never facing consequences. I started noticing how my occasional help to parents, covering a utility bill or grocery run, somehow ended up funding her whims. A new purse for Mom, a watch for Dad, but really, it circled back to Brittany's endless needs. As graduation approached, I realized my path diverged completely. No cushy job waiting. I had to hustle. Using part of my savings, I leased space for that coffee shop in a strip mall near the Loop, turning it into a cozy spot with handmade signs and local beans. The grind was relentless, sourcing supplies on a shoestring, dealing with finicky espresso machines that broke weekly, and pulling doubles to train baristas. Customers trickled in, at first loyal regulars who tipped well, but profits were slim after rent and payroll. By year 3, word spread through neighborhood reviews, and lines formed for my signature lattes. I expanded the menu with pastries from a nearby bakery partnership, boosting revenue enough to pay myself a modest salary. Still, I lived simply in a one-bedroom rental above the shop, furniture from garage sales, no cable or luxuries. Family visits were rare, but when they happened, hints dropped about Brittany's rough patch job, hopping after college, high rent in her trendy apartment. They'd say how proud they were of my business, then pivot. "Maybe you could spot her a bit just until she stabilizes." I dodged those talks, focusing on my ledgers, but the pressure built subtly. One evening, after closing up, I overheard a phone call in the back room, Mom venting to an aunt about Brittany's latest bill, implying I'd step up as the responsible one. The snippet lingered in my mind as I dove deeper into building the shop. Leasing that space meant signing a year-long contract with a deposit that ate half my savings, but I pushed forward, painting walls myself in off hours and sourcing second-hand equipment from online classifieds. Mornings started at 5, grinding beans and testing brews until the aroma filled the air just right. Early customers were sparse commuters grabbing quick cups, but I added loyalty cards to encourage repeats. Spills happened constantly, staining counters and forcing me to mop between rushes, while broken grinders meant emergency fixes with duct tape until I could afford repairs. Evenings stretched into inventory counts, ordering supplies like milk and syrups in bulk to cut costs, often alone under fluorescent lights. Competition from big chains nearby hurt at first, so I differentiated with unique blends inspired by local flavors, like a Chicago-style caramel latte that became a hit. By month 6, foot traffic picked up enough to hire a part-timer for weekends, freeing me to handle paperwork like taxes and permits without missing sleep entirely. Year 2 brought steady growth. I invested in a better espresso machine, financed through a small business loan I qualified for, based on initial sales data. Marketing came: cheap flyers at nearby offices and a basic website I built using free templates. Reviews on Yelp started rolling in praising the cozy vibe with mismatched chairs and free Wi-Fi that drew students. Profits allowed me to pay off the loan faster, but expenses like rising ingredient prices kept margins tight. One winter storm knocked out power for days, spoiling stock and costing hundreds in losses, yet I reopened stronger with seasonal specials to recoup. Family calls increased during this time, Mom Stephanie checking in casually before steering to Brittany's updates. She'd sigh about how rent in her Boston loft was skyrocketing, making it hard for her to focus on job searches. Dad Andrew chimed in, mentioning she deserved a break, after college stresses implying my stability made me the go-to for help. By year 4, the shop hummed with regulars. I expanded hours to evenings for study groups, adding board games and acoustic nights that boosted revenue 20%. Savings rebuilt steadily, hitting milestones like $10,000, then 15, all tucked into a high-yield account. Occasional family visits turned awkward. Brittany dropped by once, eyeing the place dismissively while ordering a fancy drink she didn't pay for. Stephanie admired the decor but quickly pivoted. Brittany's been job-hopping, poor thing. If only she had a stable spot to settle. Andrew nodded, adding how family should support each other, especially since I'd made it. Their words echoed the overheard call, prompting me to review my contributions, helping with their car repair last month, sending cash for a medical copay. Patterns emerged: Stephanie's new leather handbag at a holiday gathering, Andrew's shiny wristwatch during a video call. Cross-checking dates. I realized my wires often coincided with Brittany's Instagram posts of luxury brunches or shopping hauls. The funneling hit hard. What I thought were parental needs were rerouted straight to her endless lifestyle. Brittany never worked a real job post-grad, bouncing between gigs like event planning or social media influencing that fizzled fast. Meanwhile, my shop hit year 5, strong, consistent profits, letting me eye a condo listing in a quiet neighborhood near the lake, 2 bedrooms with a view I'd dreamed of since those moldy apartments. Down payment calculations felt achievable, around $30,000 total with my savings and a mortgage pre-approval. Excitement built as I toured properties, discreetly picturing a space truly mine. No roommates, no leaks. Family hints escalated. Stephanie texted about Brittany's housing crisis, how a reliable place would change everything for her. Andrew called stressing sibling duty in tough times. Their expectations crystallized. My success wasn't mine alone, but a resource for Brittany's fixes. Doubts crept in during a quiet closing shift. Those doubts gnawed at me as I locked up the shop that night, the hum of the espresso machine still echoing in my ears. The next morning, my inbox pinged with an email not meant for me, a forward from Stephanie to Andrew, accidentally CC'd to my work account. Subject: Brittany's future. It laid out their plan in stark detail. They assumed I'd buy a condo not for myself, but to hand over to Brittany so she could start fresh in Chicago. The words stung, phrases like "Megan's responsible, she'll do it," and "Brittany deserves this break." No mention of my years of grinding, just an expectation I'd foot the bill for her new life. My heart sank, not from shock, but clarity. This wasn't a one-off hint. It was a calculated move, banking on my silence and compliance like always. Brittany's text came hours later, bursting with excitement. "Saw this amazing condo listing near Lincoln Park," she wrote, attaching photos of a sleek 2-bedroom with hardwood floors and a skyline view. "It's perfect for me to finally settle down. Can't wait to move in." No mention of how she'd pay, no plan, just pure assumption it was hers. Her words echoed the email's tone, entitled "Certain I'd Cave." I didn't reply, letting her message sit unread while I processed the betrayal. Their scheme assumed I'd play the dutiful sister, sacrificing my dream for her convenience. Instead, I decided to flip the script. I'd already toured a condo, a modest 1-bedroom in Lakeview, nothing flashy but mine. After weeks of crunching numbers, I'd secured a mortgage pre-approval based on my shop's steady income. The down payment, $30,000 from my savings, was ready. I contacted the realtor, a no-nonsense woman named Karen, and finalized the offer without telling a soul. No big announcement, no family consult, just a quiet deposit and signed papers. The place had high ceilings, a small balcony, and enough space for a desk where I could plan the shop's next steps. Closing took a month, and I moved in on a rainy Saturday, hauling thrift store furniture up 3 flights of stairs. For the first time, I slept in a space I owned, no roommates, no leaks, just mine. I thought I had months before family caught on, maybe a year if I kept it low-key. But Chicago's gossip travels fast. 3 weeks in, as I unpacked boxes and hung a cheap mirror, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Missed calls from Stephanie, Andrew, Brittany, even an uncle I hadn't spoken to since last Thanksgiving. Texts flooded in, starting with Stephanie's. "Why'd we hear you bought a condo without telling us?" Brittany's was sharper. "You got a place and didn't even mention it." "What about me?" Andrew's call went to voicemail. His tone clipped. "We need to talk, Megan. This isn't how family works." I stared at the screen, piecing it together. Karen must have mentioned my purchase to another client, or Brittany was stalking the same listings. It didn't matter how they found out. What mattered was the storm brewing. I ignored the messages, focusing on screwing a shelf into the wall. The condo felt like a fortress, my first real stake in the world, but the buzzing phone signaled the calm wouldn't last. Brittany's next text pushed it further. "You owe me, Megan. I can't keep renting forever." Owe her, after years of her coasting while I clawed my way up. The audacity sparked something fierce in me. I wasn't dodging this fight they were about to learn. I wasn't their doormat anymore. Vanessa, my cousin, called that evening with a warning. Vanessa's warning rang clear. My family was planning a showdown. She'd overheard Andrew ranting at a family barbecue about my selfishness for buying the condo solo. I wasn't about to let them ambush me in my own space, so I flipped the script. I invited them, Stephanie, Andrew, Brittany, to a family dinner at my new place, a neutral ground, to face them head-on. I also called Daniel, my lawyer, a sharp guy I'd consulted about business contracts. He agreed to join, sensing the storm brewing. The table was set simply: takeout pizza and soda, no frills, to keep things focused. As they arrived, Stephanie's smile was tight, Andrew's posture stiff, like he was ready for a boardroom battle, and Brittany scrolled her phone, barely acknowledging me. Dinner started civilly, small talk about the weather and my shop's success, but the air grew heavy fast. Stephanie broke first, her voice sharp. "Megan, we heard about your condo. Why didn't you tell us Brittany's struggling out there?" Andrew piled on, accusing me of hoarding my success while my sister scraped by. Brittany looked up, smirking. "You've got it all figured out, don't you? What about family loyalty?" I stayed calm, letting them vent, knowing their real play was coming. Then Stephanie leaned forward, her eyes narrowing to slits, voice dropping to a snarl. "Give the condo to Brittany, or you'll end up in jail. Trust me, we've got ways." Brittany sneered, tossing her hair. "You're just useless anyway, Megan." The room froze. Daniel, seated quietly beside me, caught my eye with a subtle nod, his expression calm but alert. I couldn't hold it in. Laughter burst out loud and unapologetic, bouncing off the walls. Their smug faces, Stephanie's, Andrew's, Brittany's, crumpled, as I leaned forward, locking eyes with Brittany. "The useless one isn't me," I said, voice steady. "It's you." I slid my phone across the table, open to the email they'd accidentally sent me, detailing their scheme to pressure me into handing over the condo. Stephanie's jaw dropped. Andrew sputtered, trying to backtrack. Brittany's smirk vanished, replaced by a flush of panic. Daniel cleared his throat, his tone professional but pointed. "I've reviewed the email. There's no legal ground for your threats, and trying to frame Megan could backfire hard." I watched them squirm, their plan unraveling in real time. The dinner turned chaotic. Stephanie launched into a guilt-trip voice, cracking about how I'd betrayed the family, how Brittany deserved a stable home after her hardships. Andrew tried a softer angle, talking about sibling duty, but his words felt hollow, rehearsed. Brittany snapped, accusing me of humiliating her by exposing the email in front of Daniel. I didn't flinch, just pointed out the irony. They'd planned to corner me, but now they were the ones exposed. Daniel added that any attempt to push a baseless legal claim like their jail threat could land them in trouble for harassment or fraud. The table fell silent except for Brittany's sharp exhale. I kept my cool, sipping my soda, letting the weight of their failed scheme settle in. As they left, Stephanie muttered about fixing this later, but I saw the defeat in their eyes. I locked the door behind them, feeling a surge of clarity. This wasn't just about the condo, it was about breaking free from their manipulation. I wasn't done yet, though. The email was only the start. I needed to make sure they couldn't twist this against me. Vanessa texted me later, urging me to take the next step. Vanessa's text lit a fire under me. "Show them you're done, Megan. Go public." I wasn't about to let Stephanie, Andrew, or Brittany spin this narrative against me. First, I locked everything down: bank accounts, passwords, even added a pin to my mortgage paperwork with the lender. I called Daniel to double-check my position. He confirmed their jail threat was baseless, a scare tactic with no legal weight, and advised documenting everything in case they escalated. If they try framing you, he said, it's them who'll face harassment charges. That gave me the green light to move forward, not with arguments, but with action. I ignored the flood of calls and texts piling up. Stephanie's voicemails swung from tearful pleas. "Megan, how could you do this to us?" to sharp demands for a family meeting. Andrew's messages were colder, accusing me of turning my back on duty. Brittany's texts dripped with venom. "You're ruining my life, Megan. Fix this." I left them all unanswered, focusing instead on my next play. Vanessa and I brainstormed over coffee at my shop, her eyes lighting up at the idea of going public. I opened Facebook and posted a photo of my condo's balcony at sunset, captioning it, "Earned every inch of this through years of hustle. This is mine." Simple, no names dropped, but the message was clear to anyone who knew. The reaction was instant. Friends from college and shop regulars commented congratulations, some joking about housewarming invites. Then the family chatter started. An aunt messaged confused, "Why's Brittany saying you owe her a place?" I didn't respond directly, but Vanessa urged me to drop the hammer. I uploaded a screenshot of the email, the one Stephanie accidentally sent, showing their plan to guilt me into giving Brittany the condo. No commentary, just the raw text and a caption, clearing up some rumors. The post spread like wildfire. Cousins shared it, tagging relatives who'd been out of the loop. Friends who'd bought Brittany's sob stories went quiet, some unfollowing her. By evening, my inbox had messages from extended family questioning Stephanie and Andrew's fairness, one uncle even apologizing for not seeing it sooner. Brittany's response was predictable chaos. She launched a fundraiser on a crowdfunding site titled "Help Brittany Find Her Dream Home." The description painted her as the struggling sister betrayed by a greedy sibling who refused to help. She left out her jobless streak, the designer bags, the brunches funded by family credit cards. The campaign tanked fast, raised only $50 before comments tore it apart, calling out her entitlement after my post. She deleted it within hours, locking her social media to avoid the backlash. Stephanie and Andrew tried damage control, texting relatives to claim it was a misunderstanding, but the screenshots spoke louder. A cousin told me Andrew raged at a family call about disloyalty, while Stephanie's health complaints spiked, blaming stress from the drama. I kept my distance, muting their numbers. Daniel checked in, confirming no legal moves had surfaced. Their jail threat was all bluster. Brittany tried one last play, messaging me for a Zoom call to work things out. I agreed, curious, but kept it short. She appeared on screen, makeup smudged, begging to crash at my place for just a month while she sorted her finances. I cut her off. "You've got Stephanie and Andrew. Stay with them." Her face hardened, accusing me of abandoning family, but I ended the call without a word. The condo felt more like home each day, my routine settling: early runs by the lake, tweaking shop recipes, no longer bracing for their next guilt trip. Then I got a call from a mutual friend about Brittany's new reality. The mutual friend's call came while I was brewing coffee in my condo's kitchen. She'd spotted Brittany working a retail job at a mall in Schaumburg, grumbling loudly to a coworker about how unfair life was. I brushed it off, but curiosity got me later that week. I stopped by the mall for a quick errand, and there she was behind a counter at a clothing store folding jeans with a scowl. She didn't see me, but I overheard her venting to a customer about the grind low pay, long hours, no breaks. "I can't believe I'm stuck doing this," she said, oblivious to how most people live. I grabbed my purchase and left a quiet satisfaction settling in. For once, Brittany was facing the real world, no family credit card to bail her out. Back home, the chaos hadn't stopped. A thick envelope arrived via certified mail postmarked from Stephanie and Andrew's address. I opened it at my kitchen table, expecting the worst. It was a legal notice claiming I'd defrauded the family by buying the condo for myself, demanding I transfer it to Brittany or pay damages for her emotional distress. The accusation was absurd. They alleged I'd promised to buy it for her with no proof. I called Daniel immediately. He laughed through the phone, barely containing his amusement. "This is a bluff, Megan," he said. "No court would touch this. It's harassment dressed up as a lawsuit." He drafted a response letter, sent certified warning that further attempts to intimidate me could lead to a countersuit for emotional distress and legal fees. I mailed it the next day, feeling a weight lift. Their calls started again. Stephanie's voicemails wavered between sobs and accusations. "How could you threaten us with lawyers?" "Megan, we're family." Andrews were sterner, demanding I reconsider for Brittany's sake. Brittany tried Zoom again, her face desperate, asking to stay at my place just until I get back on my feet. I shut it down fast. "You've got options, use them." Her eyes flashed with anger, but I ended the call and blocked her number. Then Stephanie's and Andrew's. No more guilt trips, no more games. The fallout hit them hard. Vanessa updated me, extended family cut contact with Stephanie and Andrew after the screenshots spread, embarrassed by their manipulation. An aunt told me Stephanie's stress triggered migraines, landing her in urgent care once, while Andrew's golf buddies distanced themselves, tired of his rants about family loyalty. Brittany's reality was bleaker. Her retail job barely covered rent for a rundown studio in a rough part of town. She'd racked up credit card debt, thousands, according to a cousin who saw her panic post online before deleting it. Her influencer dreams fizzled. Former friends ghosted her after the fundraiser flop. The family's reputation among relatives crumbled, leaving them isolated, no one left to fund their charade. My life, meanwhile, found a rhythm. Mornings started with runs along Lake Michigan, the skyline sharp against dawn. I'd hit the gym, then open the shop, tweaking recipes or chatting with regulars who'd become like friends. Evenings ended on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching boats glide across the lake. No more bracing for passive-aggressive texts or surprise visits. I donated a small sum, $500, to a local charity for young entrepreneurs, a nod to my own hustle. The condo wasn't just a home, it was proof I'd built something unbreakable. Cutting them off wasn't cold, it was freedom. I'd spent years carrying their weight, but now I was done. Brittany, Stephanie, Andrew, they'd learned the hard way that manipulation comes with a cost. For me, the price was worth it.